Hello there, welcome into the show. That race for the Premier League title is turning into a high-quality blinking contest, isn't it? Neither team are blinking. Steve Nicol, Craig Burley with me, Adrian Healy. Ian Dark has negotiated some awkward traffic obstacles across the Chiswick Bridge to join us as well. Liverpool taking care of business in routine. Talking blinking, Stevie. You blinked, you missed their opener. Scored after 15 seconds. Quickest goal ever in the Premier League era for Liverpool from Naby Keita. And that set them on the route to a 5-0 routine victory against already relegated Huddersfield. So, 2 points clear, but of course, having played a game more, City not in action until Sunday. Mission accomplished. Couple of changes ahead of the Champions League game in Barcelona.
Yeah, we pretty much rested Firmino. I mean, they said he had a little knock, but I'm sure if they had to win this game, well, not had to win this game, but if they were ahead in the title race, then I'm sure Firmino probably would have played. So, you know, we saw the likes of Sturridge. I mean, we even saw Shaqiri during this game. We saw Chamberlain. So clearly, not just myself, but clearly Klopp before this game had absolutely no worries whatsoever about it. And the final score tells you all you need to know.
Playing on a Friday against the bottom team in the league.
I bet you couldn't believe your luck. You're Jurgen Klopp and you get the fixtures before Barcelona, Friday night, extra day's rest, cannon fodder as opposition, at home, early goal, get the job done. I said to Steve, why are they still running about chasing and harrowing after like 80 minutes? And he said, well, that's because that's what they do. I was kind of thinking, well, just keep the ball. And, you know, Van Dijk went down at one point and was it the first half? I can't remember, early in the second half, but I thought it was an ankle turn, but it was actually somebody trod on the top of his foot, so that was fine. So, but every time somebody went to ground, you're just thinking, get them off. So, no, as far as I know, no walking wounded for Liverpool. Good rest period, and you know, it's out of their hands what's going to happen in the title race. But what they have done here is just given themselves a great opportunity to get a decent rest between now and Barcelona.
Yeah, perfect setup, Ian, wasn't it, for that trip to the Nou Camp on Wednesday?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the game was a formality. Everybody knew it. I think even Huddersfield Town and their fans knew it going to Anfield. They were there just for the beating, weren't they, really? The interesting thing is, this season, I think it's right that the bottom three have not taken a single point in games against the top six. That's just a little indication, really, of how big the gap is between the elite teams in the division and those who are scrapping against relegation. So, yeah, Liverpool can have a good rest now ahead of that Barcelona game, and they can sit back and see what happens to Manchester City at Burnley. It was interesting to see that Jurgen Klopp was trying a few mind games and saying, well, of all the games, if you ask me, I could pick. I wouldn't pick Burnley away. Burnley are fighters. They might make something of it. So it's almost going back to the old Keegan Ferguson kind of, verbal crossfire stuff.
We will touch on that game when we talk about the title race. First of all, Stevie, I want to get your thoughts on Wednesday, looking ahead for Liverpool. How does Jurgen Klopp, you think, go into that game and set up against Barca?
Well, there's no question they'll play 4-3-3. It's a case of who plays in the middle. Because I think the back line's set, everybody knows what that'll be. If everybody's fit, the front three, everybody will know that. What does he do in the middle of the park, though? You know, for me, a couple of months ago, probably the choice that he seemed to like was Henderson, Wijnaldum and Milner. But that seems to have changed in the last 2 months. He's rotated a lot with Fabinho and then Keita. And so I'm actually not quite sure which three. I wouldn't stick my neck out and say which three. What I would say is that I don't think they're going to be as energetic getting forward. I think this Liverpool side that plays Barcelona will get the ball to the front three, and then the three will sit. Because you can't afford to overdo it. Liverpool go forward naturally. That's why they end up getting 5 against Huddersfield, because they can't help themselves. So that means that the three in the middle are going to have to be very disciplined, because they cannot afford to get caught too far up the field. Otherwise, Barcelona and a little guy called Messi with any space will kill you.
Remember him? Mo Salah, Craig, as part of the 5-1, helped himself to a couple. Now got 21 goals. Look, he's the top.
That's a stab in the dark. Could be Keita.
Yeah.
Could be Milner.
Could be. Yeah.
I'll stab it for Fabinho, Henderson and Wijnaldum.
Ian, your thoughts on what we're going to see at the Nou Camp from Liverpool?
Well, you've got to be wary, haven't you? Barcelona at the Nou Camp. You can think of a 1,000 nights where they've banged in goals right, left and centre there, 2 and 3 quite regularly. And I think this is the key game because I do think Liverpool can give them a bit of a beating at Anfield. I think Liverpool are going to win the tie at Anfield, maybe even win it quite handsomely. It's how they can keep Barcelona in check, I think, at the Nou Camp. I think I agree with Craig's choice of the midfield players. I think Fabinho and Henderson will definitely be 2. I don't see him picking Keita for a job there where they've got to be very tactically disciplined, as Stevie was saying. I would guess it would be Wijnaldum or Milner as the third there. But I like Liverpool's chances in the Champions League. I saw both the games, covered both of them against Porto. They just know what they're doing. They look like they've moved on quite a lot from last year. They look an experienced outfit in the Champions League. And I think of all the 4 teams left, I fancy them the most.
Let's go back to the title race and get your thoughts. Liverpool going to 91 points with the win. Two more games for them. They could get into 97. The astonishing thing is, Greg, 97 points might not be enough to win the Premier League. That will require Manchester City to slip up. They have Burnley away on Sunday, Leicester City at home, and then they're at Brighton.
Well, Burnley did quite a bit of celebrating on Monday, I believe, when they got that point at Chelsea.
Yep.
Which I think Sean Dyche, was mathematically were the safe.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit of steam out of them. Always takes, always subconsciously, when you know you're not quite safe, there's an extra, extra bit of zest about you and a bit of grit. So that is something. What I would say is 2 amazing teams. 2 amazing teams to have that amount of points. And listen, the best team will win it. It's nothing to do with bottling it. It's nothing to do with anything else. It'll just be the best team that wins this. And it's hard to see City. It's hard to see them slipping up. But you just never know.
But they've won 11 straight, Stevie, and no matter how good you are, it's really hard to carry on winning, isn't it?
Right, and everybody keeps throwing Leicester City at me. And Craig is 100% when he says 2 fantastic teams that open up and play football. And if you let them open up and play their football, they're going to kill you. So that's why I say this Leicester game isn't going to turn out to be a problem. Because regardless of whether it's City or Liverpool or anybody else, Brendan Rodgers likes to play his football. Leicester like to play their football. The players they have like playing football. It's the worst thing you can do against a side as good as Man City is open up and leave gaps and try and play. So of all the games, I don't think that'll be a problem.
When Tottenham sat in at White Hart Lane against them in the Champions League, it was difficult. When Crystal Palace beat them, I think Crystal Palace beat them at the Etihad, they sat in and it was dominant. When Man City lost at Newcastle, it was the same. It was against teams that just struggle to keep the ball and then they just become a defensive game. Like Stevie said, that's why we've always felt the Leicester game shouldn't really, as much as Vardy and Cole can be a threat, Rodgers will play an open game and City just thrive when teams leave space against them.
Ian, a lot of people latched onto the fact it'll be Brendan Rodgers' chance to do his old team a favour. Is that wishful thinking?
Yeah, it probably is with Leicester City away. I mean, the boys are right. Leicester do play pretty expansively and they'll try to take them on in a football match. But it is worth noting that one of the teams who have beaten Manchester City this season are Leicester City. So maybe something there. The other one that quite interests me looking at the games ahead is on the final day, Manchester City go to Brighton, who can't score for toffee at the moment. But my goodness me, can they defend? They bored the pants off us at Wolves last week. They did the same in midweek and nearly got a point at Tottenham. If they need something, and they might, from that final game to stay up, they are going to defend for their lives. And I would just wonder whether they could frustrate Manchester City for a long time and really set up an absolutely nail-biting, spellbinding final few minutes of the season.
Now, that really would be something, would it not? If you ever miss an edition of our show, the audio version available on iTunes. Significant game at Old Trafford on Sunday. Manchester United and Chelsea. Another one that the odds makers are struggling with. They cannot separate them. Both of them 17-10 to win the game. 5-2 you can get on the draw. When you look at Chelsea's recent record against Manchester United, particularly at Old Trafford, not sparkling. They lost there twice in the previous 2 Premier League campaigns, 3 draws preceding that. Also 2 meetings this year at Stamford Bridge. United getting a 2-2 draw there in October in the league, and they won 2-0 in the cup early on in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's reign.
Well, that's changed.
Yeah, but they've lost 7 of the last 9, Craig. They haven't been on a run like that since the Cuban Missile Crisis, I read. Which, I don't know if you remember that, but this is
kind of, but Ian likes it.
This is a bit of a crisis, is it not? I mean...
Well, you mentioned 7 in the last 9, and also the fact in games against the top 6, the perceived top 6, so the other 5 teams this year, they've only won once.
Yeah.
And that was against Tottenham, again away in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's early reign as interim manager at the time. We know Chelsea are not a great side. That's been shown this season with their inconsistency. We know Hudson-Odoi is out as well. But we also know they have probably the best player on the pitch, if he's fit and ready to go, which I think he is, in Eden Hazard. And I don't see any reason with United's recent form and performances why the bookmakers wouldn't be able to separate the teams just a little bit, and I would say in Chelsea's favour.
United surely, Steve, need this. Need it badly. They need it more than Chelsea, don't they?
How many times are we going to say this? We're always talking about... It started off that they needed a performance, then now we're at... Well, they need to try, and they need to try and get a win at home, and they need to try and keep everybody happy. When's it going to come? Nobody, including Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, has got any idea when this is going to happen. So why would it happen against the Chelsea side, who actually recently have been, they've been pretty stable. They've been creating chances, and Hazard's playing back to his best. So it's very difficult for a Man United fan to sit and go into this game comfortably saying, well, we're at home, I think we'll take care of Chelsea, because I don't think they will.
Yeah. Ian, when Craig is on, we always ask our guests to provide a combined 11. Craig really does enjoy that. And so you've been tasked with it for Manchester United and Chelsea. What 11 did you come up with?
Well, I picked 7 Chelsea players and 4 Manchester United. They might have been lucky to get the 4, really. I've got Lindelof just ahead of David Luiz in there. I did include Pogba, but could you really do that on his recent form? That's more on his World Cup reputation and what he's capable of. But how often does he produce for Manchester United what he's capable of? I'm sure the boys would have 1 or 2 arguments there. The goalkeeper, maybe, at the moment, you couldn't pick De Gea, could you? I think actually Manchester United should give him a rest because they've got a good number 2 in Romero. So for the moment, I'd say Arifa Balaga in goal, but he hasn't been uprooting too many trees either. So, it's a race not to finish in the top 4 at the moment. They keep on slipping up. You couldn't back either of these 2 teams with any confidence in this game.
No, I wouldn't really argue with it. I mean, I don't think Pogba's had a great season. How the hell he get in the team of the year? We'll talk about that at another point. As another matter, but I can understand Ian putting him in this team because, you couldn't put in Kovacic or Barkley or Jorginho, really. You couldn't really put in Matic. Herrera's been, he was injured for a little bit.
So I don't you wouldn't have Fred in it?
Right, so Fred. Well, Herrera may be back for this game. That's a slight, bright piece of news for United.
That's very optimistic.
He may be back. Missed 6 games.
You look at Lindelof. Lindelof, certainly has improved. Chelsea have struggled at the back. Shaw, obviously, because Chelsea's left backs have just struggled. And Ian's right about the goalkeepers. I don't think either of them have been convincing. But De Gea, I think, has got other things in his mind at the moment. Yeah. And I think there has been suggestions for him to be dropped, but I don't think that will be the case.
Ian is so right, though. There's been so much stumbling and bumbling when it comes to this race for the top 4. Teams trying to help their
well, Arsenal as
seemingly.
Well.
Yeah. Is that going to change, or is someone going to really take command?
It's hard to turn around and say yes, because we've actually sat here for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and we've been constantly asked who's going to be in the top 4 and who's not going to make it. And every time we make a decision, somebody goes and throws a result in.
Yes, they do.
That completely upsets the apple cart. But the good thing about this game again in United, and I think that's why ultimately they'll win the game, Chelsea, because the midfield will be in their control.
So you're picking them to win at Old Trafford?
I am, yeah.
There's 2 teams that can almost finish this at the weekend, and Tottenham probably will. Tottenham will be in the top 4, and deservedly so. They've been the 3rd best team. But Chelsea can absolutely kill it, and I've lost all confidence in Arsenal, particularly with the way they've played in the last 2 or 3 games, particularly the last 2 games, when they had an opportunity away from home there, where they lost, but at home to Crystal Palace. If Chelsea beat Man United, it's pretty much nailed on. Them and Tottenham, and they'll just kill Man United. They'll kill Man United off. I'm going for a Chelsea win and just kill United off.
OK, 2 Chelsea wins. Ian, break down the whole top 4 picture for us if you can. Who's got? I think Spurs are a consensus choice to finish third, but who's going to take that 4th spot?
I think it's going to be pretty tough, after that. Don't underestimate the role that Leicester City and Brendan Rodgers may play, not only in the race for the top 4, but the title as well. Remember, they beat Manchester City earlier on in the season, and Manchester City still have to play them at home. You'd think City would win it, but, they've got a bit of flair, and they've got Vardy, Leicester. They're the kind of team they drew at Liverpool who might just, on one day, come up with an upset. And they do play Chelsea and Arsenal at home. Arsenal have to go there this weekend, and on the back of their recent away performances in the league, it's hard to fancy them, to be honest with you. I think that's a close game that could go either way.
Agree? Spurs and Chelsea? I think you've already nailed your colours to the mast, haven't you? But Arsenal and Manchester United to miss out.
Well, United will get themselves back in the hunt this weekend with a win, but in current form, like I said against City, although City are a better side, I don't see a path to victory for them. And even against an inconsistent Chelsea side, I don't see a path to victory for United, not at the moment.
Maurizio Sarri saying we're not going to try to win necessarily, but it's important not to lose at Old Trafford. His words today. A draw would suit him, wouldn't it?
Well, it would, yeah. But and again, talking about the top 4, Chelsea are the most consistent of the 3 that I think are fighting for that 4th spot, and that is ultimately again why we're going to take them. Which considering what Sarri's been like, certainly the first half of the season. If you call them consistent, seems incredible now. Yeah,
I've heard this or read about this top 4 race being described as the old egg and spoon race. Remember those at school?
Yep.
Drop
How old are you? You older than me.
So the Cuban Missile Crisis, and now we're on egg and spoon races.
Extra time available every day. Your questions answered. Now, the PFA Team of the Year is out. Remember, this is the team voted on by fellow professionals. Of course, the big talking point, we touched on it yesterday, the inclusion of Paul Pogba, and perhaps who was excluded as well, Eden Hazard, amongst the players that didn't make it. Ian, let's get your thoughts first. Were you surprised?
I was dumbfounded by Paul Pogba being in it after the season that he's had. He's blown hot and cold. He's often lacked tactical discipline. He often hasn't been there in the big games for Manchester United, who've had a traumatic season. So it's an odd one. I think it's a result of the vote being too early, to be honest. It must have been taken when, about February, early March, when United were on a bit of a roll. I think if you took the poll now, Pogba would not be in that team. I can think of about 8, 9, 10 other midfield players who've got a better case.
Craig?
Absolutely. I mean, even when the vote did take place and he was playing well, with no reason to have him in it. Yeah. We're talking about professional footballers.
If it's a choice between Mane and Hazard, to get Hazard into the team, do you stick with Mane?
No, Mane's had a great season. It's not that. Paul Pogba should not be anywhere near this team. As Ian said, there are multiple other players that should be in this team ahead of him. He's had a good 6 weeks. That's all.
Yeah. It was enough to get him into the team. But the Player of the Year nominees are also out, of course. Virgil van Dijk already being reported in the UK as the winner. Now then, full weekend of MLS action available, mostly on ESPN+, a whole host of games Saturday and Sunday. We also got the big Western Conference encounter on ESPN. That's a 3:30 Eastern start. Seattle taking on LAFC. Now then, let's bring you some... I told you there was a thumping.
Surely you can get a spray that kills them or something. I don't know.
Kills them? What do you might kill them for?
Well, because they shouldn't be there.
That's a bit hard.
It's not harsh.
Melbourne,
I don't like seagulls.
Melbourne up to 3rd place.
I tell you what, that's a good idea for me. You can make money from that.
We're on to the president of the A-League tomorrow. I got his phone number. Sydney and Perth, still the top 2 in Australia. We will have all the Serie A action as well for you on ESPN Plus Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Don't forget that game in
Down to the
wire for the end of the week. Some title race as well. But
yeah, I tell you what, you've got to stop coming in as early as you do.
Hold on.
Because by the time we start this programme, and well, finishing the programme now, your brain's already more frazzled than it normally is.
Hold on, the week
and that's saying something.
When I was at school, they taught me the week didn't finish till Sunday.
Yep.
Did you go to
It's
school
only
on
Friday.
Saturday or something? Did you go to Saturday morning school? You didn't do that.
No.
Ian Dart, you probably heard him chuckle, is with us as well. There he is. Ricky, interesting first question. Be honest, do you all like each other?
Be honest, we're always honest.
Yes, that
Listen,
is without doubt.
no, we're always
always honest.
Yes. Of course we do. Yeah.
Ian says a big yes.
Do you know, people get so confused when they see a heated debate or an argument that it continues on. Very, very rarely. Him and I could go hammer and tongs at it.
Oh, yeah.
On any subject, and then as soon as we go off air, we're like, right, golf in the morning. It was like, it's
Yes.
TV.
Yeah.
Hey, Ian.
It's just a healthy debate. That's what it is. A bit and a good laugh, hopefully, as well.
Yes. Ian, but you don't have to put up with them on a daily basis. You're saying that from
There
a
is
distance.
that, yeah. There is that. I have to put up with them thrashing me on the golf course when I come over to America.
Yes, I get that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Should Manchester United sell Pogba? How many times is this question going to be asked? And I still think we're
Well, some reports
we're gonna
today in England where he was one of 4 or 5 key players that they're looking to offload in the summer.
right.
To go in a different direction, whatever direction that is. Not quite sure.
But then other reports had Solskjaer saying he's not going anywhere.
See, here's the thing. If you sell Pogba, you're going to get a chunk of change. Yes, you are. Right? Can you honestly tell me?
What do you do with it?
What do
Yeah.
you do with the money? It's one thing to have money. Manchester United have shown over, well, particularly since Fergie left, that it's one thing to have money, but it's one thing to waste it.
Yeah.
And really, they've really not got an awful lot back for the investment they've had since Fergie left.
Yeah.
And if you want to get better, you need ability to start with.
Yeah.
I think you can always work on somebody's mental strength and particularly by putting better players around them. So for me personally, I would not let Pogba go.
Ian, you normally got pretty good intuition when it comes to this stuff. Do you think United should sell Pogba? Are going to sell Pogba?
They're adamant that they're not going to sell him, but there's so much of a hullabaloo going on around him and so many stories. I just wonder whether it might be that the best decision to cut and run, because major surgery is needed at Manchester United. Would they be better moving off in another direction? And I think they've got to build another team almost. They're so far behind.
Let's cast our minds forward to Wednesday. Alex, looking to the Champions League semi-final. Should Liverpool try and adapt their game to Barcelona, especially with the intention of stopping Messi, or should they simply play their own game?
Well, they haven't done too bad playing the way they are, getting to the Champions League semi-final, kicking the backside off winning the Premier League title, playing great football. So at this late stage listen, everybody will tinker at stages, and I'm sure as much as Liverpool love going forward, they're going to have to tinker a little and make sure they have a couple of players more defensively to cover some holes. But that's a tinker. So basically, every opportunity you get, Liverpool, you do what you do best, what got you here, with the caution of remember who you're playing against.
As long as Firmino's fit. Firmino is like having an extra midfielder at times. The way he works back in to help out and drops in and works and closes down, that's going to be vitally important, because they've still got the pace to hit on the counter-attack. He does that better than any striker in the league. He gets back in and he earns his money. The other side is Salah and Mane can't have a day off. By that I mean they can't switch off from think they're just going to stand up the park. So they have to come in and try and keep it as compact as they can, deny the little man space, and then do what Liverpool do best, is win it back and hit on the counter. Sounds simple, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean, they're not going to, they're not going to go out a back three and start changing everything.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. They've just got to make sure they do the basics and they stay compact.
Ian, he's such an exceptional case, isn't he? Messi, don't you have to adjust just a little for him?
Yeah, I think you do, because he is just a genius, isn't he? You can turn a game, any game, in an instant. So, yeah, they've got to pay a bit of extra care to him. But I agree with the boys. Liverpool will do what they do. And remember, they've scored 3 away at Bayern Munich, 4 at Porto. And they're quite good, I think, now. And they've got a lot of now at sitting tight away from home. And they'll always be confident that their attack will come up with a goal or two.
Ian, I'll stay with you first for the follow-up question on the other semi-final. What did you make of Mauricio Pochettino saying it's unfair that Ajax have had an extra week to prepare for their Champions League semi-final? Remember, Spurs have to play Saturday morning and then play again Tuesday. The whole Dutch league got cancelled, didn't it, for the weekend?
Yeah, well, that's something I think that we have to think about, whether the teams at this very advanced stage of the competition are given a little bit more leeway. But you know what the schedule is like in England. It's hectic, and we always have to move towards a finish which is everybody finishing at the same time. So that does regulate when the games can be played, because we're running out of time in the season. So, but I do have some sympathy with Mauricio Pochettino. Yeah, Ajax have had the fresher kind of squad to go into the game with. But, you know, I think I still fancy Tottenham over those 2 legs, as good as Ajax have been and as refreshing as they've been.
The trouble is I don't believe that UEFA have jurisdiction to tell the Dutch football authorities what to do.
Right.
So if they decide they want to, as they have done, is they want to, because Dutch football has had a downturn and the national team has had a downturn and things are starting to pick up and it looks great, and they think, well, why won't we give our team every opportunity? So there's nothing wrong with that, and I don't believe UEFA have jurisdiction to say, no, you can't do that. No. You can't give them a rest. So it's down to whether that would happen in England, and the answer is a categoric no.
So it's not really a case of being fair or not, Steve, is it? Violence. Yeah?
It's not fair.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
It is funny that they have to play Saturday, Liverpool got to play Friday, and Spurs are actually playing before Liverpool in the Champions League. It's just luck of the draw.
Saturday, they play early Saturday, so they've basically got majority of the day Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then they play Wednesday.
No, they play Tuesday.
They play Tuesday. Spurs play ahead of Liverpool.
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So they got 20. They got.
in an ideal scenario.
4 days.
In an ideal scenario, that would have been changed clearly. Spurs Friday, play Tuesday.
Yeah.
Liverpool Saturday, play Wednesday. That's
Right.
common. That's common sense. But
We will finish with Nakai's question. What is your favourite soccer/football jersey of all time? Doesn't have to be one that you wore. Ian, do you want to weigh in on this first? Do you have a favourite from watching all those games over the years?
I mean, aside from teams that we have a particular love for, I mean, in my case, Portsmouth. But let me think. Come on, internationally, I've always liked the Argentina jersey.
Yeah.
Just for what it stands for and their history and the Maradona and memories of the '78 World Cup and the confetti falling and all those grainy.
The Albi Celeste, the white, the pale blue and white. Yeah.
I was all, Ian shocked me there because I was sure he was going to say the 2010 World Cup USA jersey.
That, I'm sure, has a special place in your heart as well.
I can't even remember what that was, if I'm honest with you.
Go.
I think it was just white.
I tell you what, it's not different. The 1982 Brazil World Cup jersey, just because I remember watching.
I was going to say Brazil too.
That team.
Yeah.
It didn't win the World Cup, but I'll never forget that game against Italy.
Yeah.
When Paolo Rossi scored the hat-trick.
Ian, I think the Argentina jersey's always tainted by the hand of God goal for me. I know what you mean. It's an iconic jersey, but not for us.
Yeah, I like the Italy jersey as well.
These two aren't bothered.
I like the simplicity of the Italy jersey, the plain blue.
You do realise Diego Maradona scored another goal in that game? It was a pretty good one.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad goal, was it?
So it should have been 1-1. Go to extra time.
Yeah, well, Argentina always went in extra time.
Argentina were away from home.
And they were better in penalties.
Any jerseys for you, Stevie?
Well,
Ayr United.
listen, I'm a Rangers fan, Ayr United, Liverpool, but
United.
I'll go back to when I was a kid. And I used to have a game. I used to have a game called Subutio.
Oh yeah, I had that too.
Yeah.
And the one team I
played
always
that.
remember having and wanting to be was Peru.
Ooh, with the diagonal.
With the
red
diagonal.
diagonal.
Now, in years to come, Peru would.
Did you lose to Peru?
Well, in years to come, Peru would pretty much put the kibosh on.
That was on Ali McLeod and that
on
team,
Ali McLeod with Kubias and all that.
Kubias.
Yeah.
Kubias.
But when I was a kid, that was when I was playing Subutio. I was Peru.
Oh no, I'm getting mixed up. It's Costa Rica.
Well, Peru
Did you
was
play in that game?
Peru
You
was
when you lost
78.
to Costa
Peru
Rica.
was 78, and then 90 was Costa Rica.
1990.
You played in it, you lost it.
Tale of Scotland.
Sorry?
A tale of Scotland upsets.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Peru and
I
Costa
had to get an operation. on my
Tale of
shoulder.
Scotland upsets. How long have you got?
We can do another
Did you flick to kick, by the way, Stevie, when you were Subutio?
Well, that was the only way you could do it, right?
Yes.
So, well,
I guess you
well,
did
I guess
flick to kick.
you've answered your own question there.
And
How else would you do it?
And on that note, I just remember the catchphrase, flick to kick.
Hey there!
Just flick to kick. Kids are missing out nowadays. I tell you.
hey, you're not
they
kidding.
don't get to flick to kick. Ian, thank you for your contribution. You guys, I guess you're back this weekend, aren't you?
Oh, why?
You do not have the weekend off.
No, he's getting hammered.
Helen McCall
Saturday,
this week.
Sunday.
Yeah.
We will review.
guys.
Thanks, Ian. We'll review all of Saturday's action on the next show. If you can catch it with us on Plus.